You're listening to the E2C Network, podcast by Auburn fans for Auburn fans. War Eagle Auburn family, and welcome back to E2C Extra, the show where we talk about anything and everything related to Auburn. Anything on the Auburn family spectrum is fair game here. If it's orange and blue, we'll talk about it. Usually tends to be a little bit related to sports, but this episode we're going to be talking about something I'm sure we'll find ways to tie it back to Auburn athletics, but it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to be sitting down with a guy I've gotten to know in the past. He's been a member of our Auburn Roots panel of guests that we've had on episode 11. Mr. Avery Dove is back virtually in the studio with me. Avery, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being willing to come back. I didn't scare you off the first time. I will try my best to do it this time. So
I don't think you will. I think I'll be back some more, hopefully.
Hopefully, yes. So what I like to do, especially because the whole thing about our network is, yes, we're obviously going to acknowledge sports is the thing that drives everything here, but there's so much more to the Auburn family than just the actual athletics and the Auburn family members themselves. And one of the things that we profiled in your Auburn Roots episode, which was number 11, which I've just now found out is apparently your number. I don't know how we pulled that one off, Avery. That's just serendipitous at this point. So it's listeners, if you haven't, please go back and check out episode 11. You can search it in Apple Podcast or any podcast for that, Matt. Just look up Auburn Roots and you'll find the 11th episode is Avery Dove telling his Auburn story. So we've gotten to know you through that a little bit, and hopefully people go back and hear you tell a little bit more about your story. What's been going on with you, man, recently, like since we last talked?
So since we last talked, I have been a little busy. I've just released my first children's book. It's a series. It was going to be a series of children's books. And there was a little something in the last interview where you asked me about Auburn references in like a cartoon. And I was kind of vague about that because I'd already had that set up, but I couldn't talk about it. That's been pretty much a big secret. You can ask Clint, you can ask just about anybody close to me. They know there was a big secret. They just didn't know what it was. And it was so hard for me not to say anything. It was also hard for me not to say anything to you about it because I hinted at it and I was like, I need this thing to come out so I can tell him I actually did put Auburn references in something I created.
One of the things that I found through doing the Auburn Roots is sometimes I make people reveal things about themselves that they're not ready to reveal. And I always have to ask, is there anything you want me to edit out? And I don't think we had to edit that out because you did a good job of hiding it. But even during the interview, I remember I was like, oh, he's got something there that he's not telling me. And I kind of want to know what it is. I wasn't able to pull this out of you and you kept it hidden from me. So well done, sir. Well done.
Thank you. It is very difficult talking to people, especially your friends every day, and having to keep that a secret and not, complain about certain things that aren't working or are working and things that look good, but you just can't tell anybody until it's ready.
Absolutely. So a little bit of a reference here for folks that haven't listened to your Auburn Roots episode yet. So Avery is, and let me make sure I have your actual title of everything. A graphic designer is what you would call yourself, correct?
Yes.
Graphic
designer and illustrator. Which is now why he has come out with his first children's book. He is an Auburn graduate and he loves his Auburn Tigers. I've seen him at many events. I think we first met actually at a Rolling of Tumors Corner after a game. If I remember correctly, you may not remember that, but the more I've thought about it over time, I was like, I did meet him with Clint. I think so.
Can't remember what game it was because I think it was you and Colton were together.
Yes.
And I was like, I know y'all were roommates and inseparable for a certain period of time. So.
Yep. If you found him, you found me. If you found me, you found him, pretty much.
And so he's been working in Montgomery since then, doing all the things that graphic designers do, but wanting to do some more passion projects for himself, but still keep his Auburn roots tied into this thing. And I want us to talk about this book a little bit more specifically, but I also want to bring up, before we get into that, a little bit of a project that you've also been doing on the side too, that the Auburn fans definitely would be interested in. That's the Little Tiger Dude, a cartoon that you've come up with and that you've done design for. Could you tell us a little bit about that and how where that inspiration came from?
So Little Tiger Dude has his roots basically back in 2010, after the Comeback Iron Bowl. I wanted to draw illustration, just kind of commemorate the win. And I was like, okay, every time Auburn beats Alabama in football, I'm going to draw a picture. And Auburn did not hold up their end of the deal with that very much. So the next time I got to do that was in 2013. And then in 2017, I think is when I first drew him, and he was just kind of a little throwaway design. But 2018 is when I really decided to actually draw him after every game. So it's almost like if you go through my Instagram if I go through that little notebook, it's basically a schedule with the outcome of each game. And I kind of transformed that into a t-shirt design. I kind of cleaned him up a little bit, and he's a very versatile character, but he's not directly tied to Auburn, but he does have roots in Auburn.
Absolutely. And that's the most important thing, is that we can connect it back to Auburn. Obviously, we don't want to, be, skirting on the territory of a certain favorite Tiger within the Auburn family. We don't want to get anywhere close to that, but we can still do some things that, are clear. I won't say representations, but interpretations of that.
Exactly.
Is a great way to look at that. And you can actually find these designs not only on his Instagram social media feeds, but we also have it in our TeePublic store as well, up there if you'd like to go and support Avery. You can purchase a shirt up there with a couple of designs we put up there. He's done one for Halloween. He's done one with a toilet paper roll related in there. So, obviously the ties to Auburn are there. So this is a guy that clearly understands and appreciates his Auburn roots and wants to make sure that his passion, his work that he's doing now still has that grounding within the Auburn family and what he finds so special about that. So now, Avery, let's talk about this book that you come up with, and give me, before we get into maybe the Auburn ties with it, just tell me how it came about. Tell me about the story. What do the folks need to know about this book?
So this book is a passion project I've been working on for the last 2 years, but it's kind of been in my head for maybe 3 or 4 years. The character itself, his name is Kino. He's been around since about 2012. He was a contest, a DeviantArt t-shirt contest design that I tried to submit and try to get some votes for, but I was too small of an artist on DeviantArt to get anything. So obviously I didn't win that contest. And he just became a kind of a just throwaway design. And then in 2018, I wanted to redesign one of my old characters, since I've grown as an artist since then. And he was a prime candidate for it. And I really liked the design that I did, but it wasn't as kid-friendly as I wanted it to be, because I wanted to use him for something special. And I know I wanted it, excuse me, to be a kid's book, because with the kids' book, they're not necessarily easy to write for, but my style and my personality makes it a little bit, how do I say, I guess, lack of a better word, easier to jump into, and it could catapult it to something else. Mm-hmm. So over the years, I redefined his design and the story. And the story is basically, without giving away too much, it's about teaching kids and adults to help others who have helped you. So if someone did something for you or helped you out in any way to reach a goal, then you should definitely, if you can, possibly pay them back in some way to show your gratitude. And that's basically the synopsis of the basis of this story.
Absolutely. And obviously we want the listeners here, especially those of you that have little ones in your families that might be interested in this, to go check this out, because not only does it tell a great story and has a great message in it. Obviously we're going to be talking about those Auburn ties in just a second. Now, we're not going to reveal everything here. You gotta go check the book out to get them all. But I got a couple of questions for you about the story, about how this came about. Okay. I know what DeviantArt is. Can you tell, for the listeners out there, when you just said DeviantArt, they don't know what that is? Explain what that is.
DeviantArt is a website where artists kind of congregate. It's like an artistic community. I guess it was kind of like an artist Instagram before Instagram was a thing. Mm-hmm. You go on there, it has a message board, you post your art, you post poetry, but it's mostly just visual art and illustrations. But you go there and they hold contests, and people can give you, notoriety and like little badges and icons. And some people, they actually, get work like that. People see it on there. People go there to search for different things, and they commission them for different projects.
So when you came up with the character of Kino, a lot of people, sometimes, at least from what I've heard, I've not had the pleasure of writing something and getting it published, such as you have, but they write themselves into the characters. Would you say that's the case with you and Kino?
Just a little bit. I didn't want him to necessarily become an attachment of me because I'm working on that also.
Oh, okay.
So
Look here, I'm trying to get you to do something else again. I'm going to
yeah,
squeeze it out of you.
so I can go on this tangent for just a second. In college, my final semester of college in graphic design, we have a thing called senior project, and it's where you work on one project the entire semester. And that semester, I developed a graphic novel concept, which is basically a story of my life. And that also, if I can ever get it off the ground, that also has some very heavy Auburn ties to it. One of which I guess I can give away now. The kid aspires to go to this university, but it's not Auburn University, it's Ochre University. You kind of get that Auburn ochre. Their tradition, instead of what do I call it? Instead of rolling tumors, they butter Boomer's Bend. So they throw buttered toast on the trees.
That is creative, my friend. Now, look, for those of you that are saying right now, that just sounds weird. Listen, this is a fan base that throws toilet paper in trees. So no judgment is being passed here on my end, and no judgment should be passed on your ends as well, because that's the reaction that you might have to that is the same thing when people talk to us about as Auburn fans. Why do you roll? You're basically vandalizing the trees. I'm like, yeah, we are. So what?
Basically. But it's okay. It's legal. It's legal vandalism.
Everybody has got their traditions. At least we don't have cult-like chants out in the middle of midnight in somewhere in the middle of Texas. That's
true.
That's for the Texas A&M fans out there. Hey, Auburn family, we're going to take a quick breather from this episode to bring you an important message. One of the most well-known things about Auburn fans is how loyal they are, and we show that loyalty by the colors that we wear. Let us help you stock up on those colors by going over to our tpublic.com store. There you'll find a variety of merchandise geared towards designs based on E2C network and Auburn content. While TeePublic is known for their t-shirts, they have a wide selection of merchandise options for you to select one of these designs to be put on. They also have other types of apparel, stickers, mugs, and much more. Here's the beauty of it. Your purchase will help support this network and the content that we regularly produce. The purchase will also go to support independent artists who put a lot of hard work into designing these concepts, especially for you, the Auburn family. And did I mention that they regularly have sales? T-shirts for $13? You have to be kidding me. If you're ready to explore your purchase options, head on over to tpublic.com/store/E2C network. You can also get there by going to our website at e2cnetwork.com/support. Now that you've got some options to suit up for game day, let's head back into this episode. Well, that's a good little preview, some things we might be talking to you about in the future. Yes. But with Keno here and his story, first of all, tell people where they can go find this currently if they want to go check it out and potentially purchase it.
If you want to check it out and purchase it, it is on Amazon. You can search Banana Land. It's like banana, but with the M. Keno's Kindness. It's KENO''S Kindness. And that should pull up the book. And you have three options. You can buy the ebook for, I believe, $6.99, the paperback for $10.99, and the hardback was originally $14.99, but Amazon's algorithm kind of took that over. So it's like $24 now. So I believe that's a little much, but if you just want to help support me and not spend too much money, the $10.99 version will definitely suffice, and it would be much appreciated.
And as you said, this is something, if I heard that right, that could evolve into more publications and more stories down the line.
Yes, it is intended to be a series. So I think I've written down at least 5 ideas so far.
There you go. So now if you want to see those come to fruition, that is the best way that you can help him get to that reality, by going out there, checking that book out and sharing it, not just for yourself, because I've seen it myself and it's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
You should go check that out and help support a member of the Auburn family. Now, let's get into what the Auburn fans are probably interested in, is the Auburn ties in that. Now, we don't want to reveal everything here because we want people to go find it for themselves, but I think you've got one at least tie to Auburn that you can reveal from the book that people will probably be pretty obvious to them.
Yes. There's about 3-4 Easter eggs in there that you can find if you look close enough. One is a little too obvious and it's unintentional, but The other three are a little more subtle, but one that I can reveal is at the end of the story. If you look in the background, you might see a certain, I don't know, building, maybe some trees, maybe some kind of toiletry item that was out of stock last year, something like that, kind of sitting in the background. But you gotta look close. You don't have to look too close, but just you'll see it.
Now, please tell me you built into the story the outage of that certain item that was out of stock because of
I
the
didn't.
pandemic.
I did not. I didn't do that. But that is a good idea for another time. I do like to keep it current.
There you go. Work the modern aspect into it as well with that. So, I mean, I think we obviously know what you're talking about. There's a certain majestic is probably the right word building out there, a picturesque view that all Auburn fans associate with. Now, did you find it hard to work that into the story, or did it just kind of naturally fit there?
It's not. It's not a big part of the story. It's just like a little homage in the background.
In the
Yeah.
background. Okay.
Now that could come to the foreground down the line, but for right now, it's just a little homage.
What I would ask next then, if you're not an Auburn fan, is it obvious to them in the story that that's an homage to Auburn?
I truly believe that if you're in tune with the Auburn Creed, it will stick out to you.
Ooh, you're going to invoke the creed. I like it.
I'm going to invoke the creed.
I get chills anytime anybody tries to invoke the creed. Like, you just say the word creed. I know that's weird, and I'm getting really weird about it now, but there's just something about that when they evoke the creed. So there are a couple of more Easter eggs in this, you said. Two more that are they're subtle, but you can figure them out. And there's one that was unintentional. Could you just maybe I don't want you to reveal them, but just give me like a hint or like a tease of one or of a couple more of them, just for people can maybe go looking for them.
They were, how do I put this? They're there if you look. Just scan the pages. When you see something that seems a little too obvious, scan those pages, and they'll be in reference to a couple of certain outcomes to some sporting events that were important to me during my time and a little bit after my time in Auburn.
Well, there you go. So the question I asked you earlier, do you write yourself into a story? It seems like that might have been the case for you because these are experiences that you might have had, maybe. We just won't say specifically what events those were. But if you've listened to Auburn Roots and know about the time frame that he was here at Auburn, you can probably figure out which ones those were. Tell me this. Are there Auburn traditions, figures out there that you haven't written in to this particular story that you'd like to work in somewhere down the line?
There's a good possibility. Yeah, I can say that. There's just a good possibility.
So Keno and his story and a great message in it that we want people to go check out and obviously share with the rest of the Auburn family, and hopefully share it out there with the kids. It's going to be a series that's going to be coming out hopefully down the line as this continues to grow and gain some traction. You can find the book out there on Amazon, and you'll be able to find it there for purchase. What else about this book and your ventures would you like to share with us, Avery?
I can go back to your question of my experiences in the book, injecting my experiences in the book. But Keno, he doesn't necessarily reflect my experiences, but there is in those pages that have the Easter eggs, there's some things that are going on that I did experience, and that's with a character that's actually based on one of my best friends that I met at Auburn. What she's going through is something that I went through when I worked fast food in Tuscaloosa. So what you see on those pages is kind of a reflection of my time being an Auburn fan in Tuscaloosa working fast food.
And, I just remember from your story, I just continue to pray for you, man, for the time because the trauma you had to experience of being in Tuscaloosa and being an Auburn fan, there are just times that I roll through there and I do my best to antagonize them. I just throw the flag up on the car.
You don't even have to antagonize them. You can be minding your own business and they'll do it for you. And that's what's wild for me, because they question my decision to go to Auburn because of their dislike of Auburn football. I'm just I'm not going to play football. Look at me. You see my stature. I'm not going to play football. I'm trying to get a degree. What are you doing out here?
Trying to go to Walmart and get a t-shirt, basically.
Exactly. So,
I will always have this image in my head too when you just talked about how it's just they seek you out. We talk about that little brother mentality that they like to project onto us, but they're the ones that seem focused on us more. In fact, I was walking down the street the other day and just doing a little exercise walk. And I didn't even know this person was an Alabama fan, but they were walking the opposite side of me, good 50 yards, because, we're supposed to be socially distanced right now and all that stuff. They made a point to stop, get my attention, make me pull my headphones out just to say RT at me. And I'm like, okay, like what?
See, I think that should be a crime.
Exactly. That's just...
That's something that should not be happening. And I mean, it's all the time to schools. I implore every Alabama fan, if they think that, it's not that bad, y'all do the same thing to us, just one day for a full, maybe even 8 hours, just put on some orange and blue if you can muster it up, and just walk down the street, walk in the mall, see how you're treated. See how you're treated.
Absolutely. Now, I'm glad we actually talked about that. I know that was a little bit of a tangent there. Would we ever get some characters in there that would be homages, but not so fun homages to some Alabama people, maybe making fun of them down the line?
There's one character in there now that's a broad generalization of them, of my experience with them. There's nothing specific yet. There might be. You never know.
Yeah.
But right now there is a generalization in there.
I figured that's what that was. And I wanted to make sure that I put at least a bug in your ear to continue a trend of maybe being subtle with it and not so blatant as some of the Alabama fans out like there to be with us. But we can always have fun at their expense.
Of course. Now, some of this stuff may even go over their head. You just never know.
Absolutely. Especially when you go and get your t-shirts at Walmart, a lot of stuff goes over their head.
Exactly.
Anyway, this is not a podcast where we're just going to dog on Alabama. There's so much to celebrate within the Auburn family. And obviously you, Avery, are a great member of the Auburn family. I'm so happy that I've gotten to get to know you through Auburn Roots, getting to follow your journey with the story of Little Tiger Dude, now the story of Keno. And I hope that you, the Auburn family, will go out there and support him and check out his book and add it to your collection, your family's collection for your kids. It'll be a great story, and you can help keep him on this journey of making more stories for the Auburn family and keep the homages out there.
I definitely appreciate it, and I can say this, and I'm currently working on the sequel. I don't think it's technically a sequel, but the book 2, and there will be a direct homage there. It's going to be obviously blatant.
Excellent. You got a preview for that and a preview for other things to come. Avery, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking to me a little bit about what you worked on, what you are working on, and what we have to look forward with you in the future.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, my man. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Before you get out of here, we want to remind you of a couple of things. Head over to E2CNetwork.com, our website where you can find everything that you'll ever need from us, podcasts, blogs, and even ways to help support the show. If you want to find individual episodes, you can download all of these on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play. So until we see you again, I want to remind you of one thing, that here at the network, we believe in Auburn and love it. The only question remains, do you?